Spanish ordinal numbers. How do we say in Spanish words like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc., etc.? So here on this slide, I've written the English ordinal numbers on the left-hand side together with their abbreviation. And in the center of the slide, I've done exactly the same with the Spanish numbers. Now, one thing you need to know about the ordinal numbers in Spanish is that they behave like adjectives. And that is the reason that there are so many words there in the center, because if they behave like adjectives, it means that we need to use masculine, feminine, singular, and plural, depending on the thing that we are talking about, depending on the noun, depending on the subject. So let's have a look at the first one. So for the word first, we have 5 words in there. We've got primer, primero, primera. For singular masculine, we've got 2 words, primer and primero, and then we've got for singular feminine, primera. And then we've got the plurals, so we just add the S. Primeros, primeras. For second, segundo, segunda. Third, tercer, tercero, tercera. Again, for number third, we've got 2 words for the singular masculine, tercer and tercero. And I will explain a little bit more about the difference between those two. It only happens with first and third, and I will explain a bit more how we use those. To say fourth in Spanish, cuarto, cuarta. Fifth, quinto, quinta. Sixth, sexto, sexta. Seventh, séptimo, séptima. Eighth, octavo, octava. Ninth, noveno, novena. And 10th, décimo, décima. Now, even though every single number in Spanish has a word to talk about them in the ordinal number, they've got they are long words. So it's very, very unlikely that you're going to use those. However, you want to know from the 1st to the 10th, because we use these words to talk about things like, for example, where we live, to say that I live on the 2nd floor or they live on the 8th floor. We will be using the ordinal numbers. We will be using these words in Spanish. So to talk about your address, when you want to give it out to somebody, or when somebody is giving you their address in Spanish, you will want to know these words. They are important, as well as the plurals. They are in the center of the slide when you want to talk about things and put them in order. For example, if you want to say my daughter came first in the marathon, or my son is the first in class, for example, you want to know those words in there. And on the right-hand side of the slide, I've also written the abbreviations. So because number 1, or the first, we've got 2 words for the single masculine, primer and primero. If you're using primer, you will write the number 1 with 1 digit, and then the abbreviation will be with the letters ER next to it. Or if you're saying primero, you would write number 1 and then the little O next to the number 1 in there. Or if you're talking about primera, you would write the letter a little a next to number 1. So that is exactly the way you see it on the slide, how you would write that. So that's how you would write your address, for example, in Spanish, or how somebody would write their address at the floor where they live in Spain, if they live on a 2nd floor, on a 5th floor, and so on and so forth. But you will be glad to know that even though if somebody lives on a floor that is higher than 10, they would switch to the cardinal number. So to live, if they say that they live on the 12th floor, they would say, yo vivo en el piso 12. So that is more the colloquial way that people use the numbers in Spanish. So you would only need to learn from 1st to 10th. Then on the next slide, As I mentioned before, these words behave like adjectives, and as such, they've got gender and number. So let's have a look at a few examples. To say my flat is on the second floor, I would say in Spanish, mi apartamento está en el segundo piso. Piso is a masculine singular word, and as such, I need to use segundo, ending in O. And I would also need to add the definite article el, the second floor, el segundo piso. The shopping center is on the Fifth Avenue. El centro comercial está en la Quinta Avenida. The first newspapers come out tomorrow. Los primeros periódicos salen mañana. So here is an example of how we would use the plural masculine. Periódicos is plural masculine, so we need to use los primeros. Or the Spanish athletes are the fifth in the competition. Or are fifth in the competition. Las atletas españolas son las quintas en la competición. Now, let's move on to explain that irregularity with first and third. So they are an exception. It only happens with these two numbers, first and third, where they have two words for the singular masculine. And this is the way you would use them. And this is a 100% rule, so you want to learn that. So if you want to use the word primero, is because you are putting the adjective after the noun. So to say, for example, the sentence in Spanish, I live on the first floor, you can say it in two ways. Yo vivo en el piso primero. So if you want to say that the first floor, using the Spanish adjective after the noun, piso primero, you would use a full word. However, if you want to change the order of the adjective and put the adjective before the noun, then you will drop the O. So to say exactly the same, I live on the first floor, yo vivo en el primer piso. So yo vivo en el piso primero, or yo vivo en el primer piso. If you want to put the adjective before the noun, just drop the O for the first and the third only. Both of them mean exactly the same. It's just the word order that you need to bear in mind when to drop the O or when you need to use the full word.